Hello students, so today we are going to talk about a topic which is connective tissues. We need to discuss what are connective tissues, what are the different types of connective tissues, where they are present and what is their function. Now if I talk about a connective tissues, as the name suggests, they are involved in the connection of different parts of the body. So they are present almost everywhere in the body, and the cells of the connective tissues are suspended in the matrix or the ground substance, and matrix is the intercellular substance. Now what they're trying to explain here is your ground substance is nothing but the cells, the different cells that are present in our body. Okay, and matrix is intercellular substance, the substances which is present within the cells or within the gaps of the cells, I can say, not within the cells but within these gaps that are there in the cells, so that all the gaps and all these areas are filled with these connective tissues. Okay, and that is why they're present almost everywhere. Now, we have different types of connective tissues depending upon the function they perform. So, first is connecting or binding tissues, the second is skeletal or supporting tissues, the third is fluid or transporting tissues. One by one, we will target them. First is connecting or binding tissues. So these are actually the one which are present or suspended in the ground substance, I can say. Okay, these tissues will hold various, or we can say these connecting tissues actually hold various other tissues and organs together because they act as a ground substance. Okay, like example or the type would be areolar tissue. Areolar tissue is the most abundant tissues in the body, and it forms thin sheets, bind skins with the underlying tissues, and act as a packing tissue between and within the organs and the body cavity, and that is why your skin is just like a continuous sheet. Okay, otherwise it would have been broken down, but it is not like that. So here it is the areolar tissue, like in the diagram itself you can see the areolar tissue, how it is trying to hold up the different types of what I can say cells and keeping them together so that it won't go away here and there. Then you have adipose tissues, and this particular type of tissues, as you can see here in this diagram, stores fats in the adipose cells which are filled with oil globules, which have a different function as well. Like through the sebaceous gland we secrete oil, so there you can actually see their involvement. We store the fat within the body as well, so adipose tissues are also the areas where you can actually store the fats. So like that the adipose helps in this way also, and it is also a very good insulator. So whenever we feel warm during the winters, it is because of these tissues. Then you have a fibrous connective tissues which is forming the tendons and the ligaments. Okay, now tendons are strong and cord-like inelastic structures. These are present at the ends of the muscle bundles, and they join skeletal muscles to the bones. I will show this in the diagram itself in the what I can say is the skeletal tissues, but here this idea you can get is these are like fibrous connective tissues. Okay, so for tendons, they join the muscles and the bones so that when you move your muscles, your bones is also going to move along with it. That is how these tissues will help. And for the ligaments, you can say they connect two bones together at the joint so that when the bones are movable, it is because of these ligaments. And again, all of these things are made up of different kinds of cells, different kinds of product altogether as per their functions. Now let us come to the skeletal tissues. Now skeletal tissues is like nothing. It forms the skeletal framework of the body as the name suggests. Okay, they are two types, cartilage and bone. So tendon, as you can see here, and the ligament is different. As you can see, ligament joins two bones, tendon joins muscle and bone. But other than that, bone and cartilage are completely different things here, which comes under the skeletal tissue. So cartilage is firm but elastic type of connective tissues. It supports the wall of windpipe, nasal septum, external ear pinna. Like these are the places where you will find them. Since they are highly elastic, it is found between the bones and the at joints as well sometimes. Okay, to give the elasticity to the bones, it releases the bones of shock and reduces friction between the bones as well. Again, because they're elastic, that is why they're able to just disperse the shock and also reduce the friction. When you talk about bone, it is we have a very simpler idea for the bone, which is hard and non-elastic tissues. These are inorganic salts of calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus. Like these are the components of the bone. Okay, which makes them hard. Like the matrix of bone makes it hard, strong, and brittle. This is why sometimes the bones gets broken, also called bone fracture. Like these minerals, I can say, or inorganic salts makes it hard also. But since there is a chemical structure present between them, so that is also the reason for its brittleness. So sometimes when there is a very bigger shock to these bones, so they might get broken as well. Bones form supportive framework, protect delicate internal organs like brain, lungs, and heart, and help in the locomotion. Okay, and also you have red blood cells and white blood cells within our body. So these are particularly the cells which are formed within the type of bones called red bone marrow of long bones. I mean, the bone marrow is a part within that long bones, and these long bones, which you can remember, is femur and humerus. Humerus is basically your bone in the hands, the what you can say upper part of the hand. Okay, and femur is like your upper part of the leg, which is your thigh bone, and that is how you can remember the skeletal tissues. So this is all about the skeletal tissues. Now we can come up to the fluid tissues. Okay, so the fluid tissues are of two type, which is blood and the lymph. Now here you can see the different types as well, which we have already discussed: RBC, WBC, and blood plates. All of them are present within the blood only. So when you talk about a blood, it is a red colored fluid tissues, and this matrix is called the plasma. Like this fluid matrix that we are talking about within the blood is plasma. Plasma is straw colored and a non-living substance. Okay, means in blood itself you have different components, and as per their color you can actually identify which is a RBC, which is a WBC, or which is a plasma. So for plasma it is a straw colored and also non-living because they don't have nucleus as such. Like once they divide they lose the nucleus, which is also the properties of RBCs as well. The three types of blood cells that are float in a plasma, I can say, okay, is red blood cells, RBCs, which supply oxygen to each and every blood cell. Then you have white blood cells, which fights and kill germs that enter the body. That is why they are also known as the soldiers of the body. And then the blood platelets. Blood platelets are essential for the clotting of blood. Now here, when we talk about plasma, so why we say plasma is a non-living substance is that there is a confusion sometimes when you talk about blood. Like why I said plasma is something which loses its nucleus and all is when you as I said, when you talk about plasma, sometimes in blood itself you have a lot of components along with this RBCs, WBCs, and blood plate, which is food, which is different other components as well. So all of those are considered as non-living. Now in terms of RBCs and blood plates also, which is also present in the blood, will also lose the nucleus. So that is why they also became not non-living, I can say here particularly, but they, since they lose the nucleus, so they lose the capacity to divide. That is their property, and that is how you can actually differentiate in terms of plasma and in terms of RBCs, WBCs, and blood plates. WBCs are like having a proper nucleus, so that is a completely different way of looking at the cells in this fluid tissues. Now there is another type of fluid tissue which is lymph, which is a filtered blood. So it is a blood without the plasma, or without blood cells and blood proteins, means it has a very specific kind of a substance. It helps in exchange of substances between blood and tissue cells. And the main function here is why it is devoid of all of these things is it is involved in the protection of body against infection. Like this is a part of your immune system. This is a part of the uh, what you can say the functions that is performed by your body. So if I talk about the overall function, what you can say here, it is involved in the transportation of oxygen and nutrients to all the body cells, which is about the blood. They take carbon dioxide and like excretory products from the body cells and also remove them. They also distribute the hormones to the target tissues, and the cells of fluid tissues kill microbes that enter the body, fight against infection, and help in healing the wound as well, which is the part of the WBCs and also the lymph. So this is how you can understand the role of fluid tissues and understand the different types of connective tissues. I hope this will help you. Thank you.